Now, this is part 2 of my solar eclipse video. Welcome back. Now let's talk about some of the planetary aspects in this solar eclipse chart. Mercury aligns with the solar eclipse in Libra, which indicates that we are invited to look closer at our relationship to our mind. For example, how are we using our minds and how does that serve us and other people? How does our analytical mind influence our mood or responses to other people? What are we aware of in our one-on-one relationships, whether that's business or personal, that needs to improve? And which of our relationships are healthy and which ones aren't? And how can we serve others in a way that helps them improve something in their lives? So these are all great questions to use with this Mercury alignment to the eclipse. And again, feel free to meditate or journal on these questions or allow the answers to just come to you as you're posing the questions, and let this be an intuitive process. Now, the South Node solar eclipse Mercury alignment in Libra opposes the North Node and Chiron in Aries. And this combination asks us to focus and work on the healing process of our masculine energies and what we identify with or as. Now, our confidence might not be at its strongest at this time. This aspect may play out in a relationship, with each of you living out one side of the equation. And we may experience guilt or shame around something we said or didn't say. Now, it will serve us to create a balance between this need for healing our insecurities or wounds from the past and our ability to think and speak gracefully or diplomatically. So we might feel a little bit, torn between, how do we connect in a sort of like sophisticated kind of a way with people, but then on the other hand, how do we allow ourselves to be human, and how do you allow ourselves to have insecurities and wounds from the past? So as you can see, this is sort of like in contrast to each other, and we might feel sometimes we're very capable, and then other times we might feel we're a little bit more insecure and a little bit more wounded, like more connected to that wounded inner child. So ask yourself, might being more accepting of myself, despite or even including my self-doubt, make me a more compassionate collaborator or ally? So if we're just embracing that part of ourselves that is wounded, that inner child, if we're just allowing that to be okay, can we maybe create more of a humble approach to our relationships with other people? And then if you feel triggered by someone else or vice versa, you are triggering someone, as best as you can, direct compassion and kindness towards both of you. Triggers are human. Everyone has them. And yes, they can be unpleasant for yourself, for another person, absolutely. But as best as you can, be kind and compassionate. So ask yourself, is this connected to my past or my upbringing? When a trigger happens. What if this were an opportunity to embrace my wounded inner child with love and kindness? And what about embracing someone else's wounded inner child? It's much harder to do it with other people. Well, it's hard either way. It's hard sometimes to do it for yourself, and it's hard to do it with other people too sometimes, especially when there's a trigger that is connected to aggression or anger or rage, which of course with Chiron and Aries can be the case. So then it becomes a little bit difficult to be forgiving and to be understanding and compassionate. So just know that these triggers do exist and do your best. Now, blaming, shaming, attacking, and justifying will definitely not heal us faster, and it will cause more pain and suffering within and around us. So just remember, healing can only take place if we're willing to embrace our own sensitivities and love our most vulnerable places. And, we also have to remember that these wounds or these triggers, they've been handed down to us from generations and generations of people in our own family. So if we are experiencing this, it's not necessarily about you. It's about your ancestral wounding. So the question really here is that you want to ask yourself is, how quickly would I like to heal And another aspect in this solar eclipse chart is that the sun and moon make a quincunx to Uranus in Taurus. Quincunxes always invite us to make some inner adjustments and to address internal conflict or discomfort. So with Uranus involved, of course, an unexpected turn of events could leave us uneasy or unsettled on some level. So what you want to ask yourself is, how flexible could I be if I worked at it? And what needs to be shifted internally so I can stay open and aligned with my own unique divine values? Now, we are invited to make space for recalibrating our physical issues as well, our physical body, our finances, connected to our planet. And we want to also be open to creating a balanced approach with other people. So just remember, this is a dance, right? This is a dance about what's going on with ourselves, what's going on in our relationships. And it might be uncomfortable to figure this all out. So ask yourself, are my one-on-one relationships creating discomfort for me right now? And what might become possible if I got 5% more comfortable with being uncomfortable? And I know I've posed these questions many times before whenever there is a Uranus aspect, but this is a really, really important question, because whenever Uranus is involved, especially in a challenging aspect, it's so important that we let ourselves be uncomfortable. And it's so difficult to do for a lot of us. Most people do not like being uncomfortable, but if we just allow it, if we just breathe into the discomfort and just go, okay, I'm really uncomfortable, and it's okay. It's okay. It's temporary. It helps a lot, because when we fight it, it makes it worse. Now, another question you can ask here is, being in alignment with others really that important to me? And what do I gain when I insist on being in alignment with others? And what do I lose? So remember, the key word here is when we insist, right? When we insist, no, I need to be in alignment with these people or with whoever. So what do I gain when I insist on being in alignment with others, and what do I lose? Now, another thing that we want to definitely discuss with this solar eclipse chart is Pluto's square to the moon nodes in Libra, Aries. And of course, that's creating a lot of tension, with Pluto being the planet that has all that friction. And so we need to really pay attention to Pluto. How do we get more empowered within ourselves? And Pluto has been squaring this polarity since July 17th and will be within 5 degrees of the moon nodes until December 8th, 2023. So for this eclipse chart, we have Pluto squaring the moon nodes, and of course, therefore also squaring the solar eclipse, because the solar eclipse is connected to one of the moon nodes. Now, with Pluto squaring this eclipse, we may obsess about our long-term goals or economic status. So as best as you can, channel all that serious, self-responsible Capricorn energy into something worthwhile that helps manifest something sustainable, something lasting, and emotionally empowering to you and future generations. Now, we also have to remember that Saturn is in Pisces right now. Saturn rules Capricorn. And that also means we need to really tap internally into our own trusting of the divine, of our own divine nature, of our connection with our own intuition, and really needing to go with the flow as well. Now, to bring balance to the table here with a very, very highly exalted Pluto, remember to be extra aware of self-care. Now, the power always lies within ourselves, and we can experience that power when we take responsibility for our choices and when we stay in tune with ourselves. And of course, with Pluto in Capricorn, what empowers us most is self-responsibility for both our shadow and for our light. So for the darkness and for the higher vibrational being that we are. And we need to ensure that our inner baby feels safe and nurtured. So ask yourself here, what behaviors keep me small when interacting with others? And where am I asked to take my power back? What am I most scared about when it comes to my accomplishments? And am I experiencing a loss of control at this time? And then might surrendering my fears around long-term social or economic issues give me a sense of peace? So with Pluto, often fear can rise up. So we want to surrender our fears. We want to really stay centered and go, I'm okay and I'm going to be okay. This is okay. I trust life. I trust my higher self. I trust that all of this is orchestrated exactly as it needs to be. So with that in mind, ask the question, what if there is a higher power that will ultimately empower everyone who lives full out from a place of self-responsibility, integration, and wholeheartedness? And then one thing to also remember with Pluto is that sometimes the way Pluto shows up is through accidents, illness, and profound losses that can be orchestrated by our higher self, not to cause us pain and harm, but it is inviting us to make a journey towards greater authenticity and empowerment. And sometimes the higher self doesn't have any choice but to bring in something extreme because maybe we didn't listen before. So ask yourself, what would it take to trust my relationship with my higher self? And could I surrender my personal will to that of a higher power? And can I notice that I'm okay no matter what occurs? If we trust that this is all part of some larger focus, some bigger picture, can I notice that I'm actually always going to be okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about Venus, because Venus rules Libra, and Venus supports us with redefining and releasing any South Node issues connected to the Libra energy over the next 5.5 months. So Venus will be in Virgo during the solar eclipse from October 8th on, and we are invited to invest in our health and well-being, especially around daily routines and anything that makes life run more smoothly on a practical level. Now, we want to feel of service to others. We love to help, especially in a practical, down-to-earth way. And this might also be a great time to acknowledge the people who handle those little daily details in our lives and just make our life a little bit easier. So whoever they are, notice them. So ask yourself, in what ways could I be of service and express my individuality? And what if my health depended on this? Would I be more open to pursuing endeavors or relationships that would fulfill that criteria? And what type of interactions no longer serve me? What is no longer good for my own well-being? Now, when Venus moves into Libra on November 8th of 2023, and it reaches the degree of the solar eclipse on November 27th at 12:20 a.m., that's when we want to look for messages. So really pay attention. November 26, November 27, around that time. What are some messages that are coming in that seem to be connected to your one-on-one relationships, collaborations, or solar eclipse intentions that you might be setting for the solar eclipse? So just pay attention at that time. Now, Venus also opposes Saturn in Pisces at the time of the eclipse and sextiles Mars in Scorpio. Now, the opposition to Saturn asks us to slow things down and be as realistic as possible about our partnerships and our finances. So ask yourself, what is asking to be improved? Where do I need to focus? How might being present and patient support me and others for the next 5.5 months? And if doubts arise, could I refrain from overthinking things and stay connected to my intuition and heart energies? Now, Venus sextiles Mars. And that creates an opportunity for deeper investigation into daily routines linked to health and work. And with Mars in Scorpio, we can better use our focus and our willpower to improve our relationships to health or start more profitable and meaningful work relationships. So just remember though, opportunities are openings. They're not necessarily handed to us. So we have to take them and make something of them, which means we need to take action with a sextile, with that opportunity. So ask yourself, what will I do with this opportunity? Am I ready? Am I willing? Am I able to use this opportunity? And what actions are calling to me? Now, the last thing we want to talk about is Neptune quincunx is the south node in Libra. And this could create confusion, spaciness, or the need to inspire others. However, we might feel a little bit puzzled about how we can achieve that, how we can inspire other people. So with that in mind, for the next 5.5 months, ask yourself, what do I currently experience in my relationships that doesn't seem to fit my ideals, my dreams, or my fantasies? And what calls out to be addressed in my relationships? Am I avoiding anything? Could I give myself some space, time, and love around this? And what's true for me? What might be possible for others? And where do those things overlap? And then last but not least, you can also ask, how might compassion, because of course Neptune in Pisces is very much about compassion. So how might compassion be a great asset when connecting with others, when it comes to myself or when it comes to other people? So remember, the best way to deal with quincunxes is not to keep looking for the exact solution, but for ways to feel okay when things are not a perfect match. So awareness is really key. All right, now to sum it up for this powerful new moon solar eclipse, choice is available to each of us every day, every moment, and every breath. So if we don't like what happens, we can go into regret or place blame on something or someone, ourselves included, or we can set the intention to choose differently the next time around. That's always a choice. So each now moment is a new moment, and each unfolding moment provides a space for us to make new choices. And again, this is a choice as well, to choose to do that. So ask yourself, how can I best discern what is healthy and wholesome for myself and my world? And what would it look like if I made conscious, empowering choices every day? And how can I grow and evolve in my daily life? And is there a work routine that I need to develop out of? So as best as you can, remember you're always accomplishing things and making progress, even if it's not visible yet. But what's really essential is self-care, right? Without that, we can't accomplish much. So really focus on self-care, because when we don't do that, we're always going to be behind the 8 ball. So ask yourself, what roles do rest and recreation play in my ability to achieve my highest potential, or in my playing a meaningful part in society? So rest and recreation, right? We really need to make sure that we are able to do the things that we would like to do and accomplish. Now, for the next 5.5 months, do your best to simplify your relationship with yourself, with others, with your daily work and health routines, and move towards an empowered future for yourself and other people. And as I mentioned earlier, Pluto is stationing at the time of the solar eclipse and is very exalted, which can sometimes cause discomfort. And rather than pushing into that discomfort and creating more of it, or pulling away from it to create more ease, we are being asked to just be with that discomfort, to just hang out with it, to notice it without allowing ourselves to panic, to just know that this is what the station phase is for. It's for us to see something, to become more aware. So whatever you experience, life is always here to support you. So just trust that. Trust that life is there to support you. So as an experiment, ask yourself, is anything weighing heavy on my heart right now? Could I write that down? And what problems is my mind trying to solve right now? And could I write them down? And do I have health issues, relationship struggles? Do I have a difficult decision that I need to make? And could I write all of that down? And once I have written it down, could I turn it over to my higher self and let it help me handle it? Could I then listen for clues and messages from my higher self, from my intuitive self? And could I be open to this collaboration between my higher self and my human identity? So, again, flexibility and open-mindedness will help for the next 4 to 5 weeks while we're still in eclipse season. Embracing our humanity and practicing self-compassion, especially around our inner processes and limitations, provide an opportunity for really great healing. Now, do you have an ascendant or any personal planets in 16 to 26 degrees of Libra, Aries, Cancer, or Capricorn? And if so, you're definitely going to feel the effects of this powerful new moon solar eclipse more strongly. Now, if you don't know if you have points or personal planets in those degrees and signs, then feel free to watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. It will explain how to look this up in your birth chart. And also know that wherever the eclipse lands in your birth chart, the 21 degrees of Libra, that is the area of your life that will be most impacted for the next 5.5 months. Now, before we talk about setting solar eclipse intentions, I just briefly want to mention that in my next Forecasting Forum webinar, we will be diving deeper into the last lunar eclipse in Taurus, which will be exact on October 28th, which ends the Taurus-Scorpio eclipse cycle that began November of 2021. And we will also talk about Saturn's station phase in Pisces. We will feel an exalted Saturn from October 20th until November 14th. So to align with the upcoming energies, join me live on October 27th at 5 p.m. New York time, or sign up for the MP4 video presentation if you can't join live. And to be automatically registered every month, if you want to join us every month, become a star member on my site. That is the best way to join us every month, and it's also the least expensive way. Now, let's talk about setting solar eclipse intentions. Setting intentions for a solar eclipse is a little different from a regular monthly new moon process. After all, we are setting them for the next 5.5 months for the whole eclipse cycle, rather than just for the next 28 days. And solar eclipse intentions are definitely best done 48 hours after the eclipse becomes exact, because we're still downloading new templates at the time of the eclipse. And the energies are just so intense that we want to wait until some of that has settled down a little bit before we set our intentions. Now, we also definitely do not want to send them during a moon void, of course. So the best and most potent times to set your intentions for the solar eclipse are between 1:55 p.m. on October 16th and 11:44 a.m. on October 17th. And then again, after the moon void, of course, ends, from 3:36 p.m. on October 17th until 1:55 p.m. on October 18th. Now, all of this is U.S. Eastern Daylight Savings Time in the New York time zone. Please set powerful intentions, again, because they cover the next 5.5 months, and if possible, also align them with the Libra energy. And if you live in a different time zone other than U.S. East Coast time, and converting time zones isn't your thing, I suggest that you can join my Facebook fan page or follow me on Twitter, as I post reminders when it's time to set your intentions for the solar eclipse. All right? So when you see these reminders pop up, then you know now I can sit down and set my intentions. Now, if you need more details on how to set your solar eclipse intentions, click the link below this video. I have an article on my website, and the link below this video will take you to that article. All right. So have a fantastic solar eclipse and feel free to watch part 1 and part 2 of my video, and have a wonderful October and rest of your month. And if you have any questions or if there's anything that you need, please feel free to reach out to info@astrologercoach.com. If you have any questions about your own personal chart, then I will be answering those questions via a reading. If you have more general questions, I'm happy to also answer those via email. All right, have a really good one. Please remember to raise your own vibrations as much as you can and really take good care of your emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. All right, have a good one. I'm Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.